Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we are looking at the Variable Action Heroes One Piece NAMI figure. This is a figure I was really excited for, so I'm glad to finally have it. I wasn't just excited for it because it looks like she has life preservers on her chest. It's because it looked like a really good figure. It looked like it was going to be very accurate and well designed. And I have to say, it didn't disappoint completely. It did disappoint in a couple areas, and we're going to talk about that. But for the most part, it is a really good figure. So let's get into it. You can see the box on the side right there, standard window box for the Variable Action Heroes. You can see the figure, very nice detailing throughout. The paintwork is really good. If you're wondering if it's out of focus or if the shading is just really subtle on her torso, the shading is just really subtle. They did a really good job with that. And if you'll notice on her hair, that orange line is actually painted on. It's not just glare from my lights. So they did a really nice job with the shading, and then the same thing goes for the pants. They just nailed the paintwork 100%, no problem at all. Sculpt work also really good. They did a great job with all the details. The musculature in her torso and just the general anatomy of the figure is very accurate to the show. Doesn't stand very well though. So she stands roughly 17.5 centimeters to the top of her head, which makes her just about 7 inches, just shy of 7 inches. So very nice size figure, definitely not in scale with like SH Figure Arts or anything like that, but it's not supposed to be, so that is okay by me. She lines up with the other One Piece Variable Action Heroes figures, no problem at all. And she does come with quite a few accessories. You can see her face right here is her standard face, just kind of a generic smile, nothing too fancy. And then she has standard kind of relaxed fist hands, not like she's actually going to be fighting with them, but just closed hands. We do have 3 other sets of hands. Of course, we need to have some gripping hands so that she can use her accessories, or accessory. So we have the 2 gripping hands. We have 2 open palm hands, which you could use for whatever kind of posing you want. And I want to note that they did paint the fingernails on there, so that's pretty cool. It's a nice detail to have. And then we have some more style pose hands or relaxed hands, whichever way you want to use them, you could use them. So we have 8 hands in total. We have 4 faces in total. You already saw the standard relaxed face. Now we have this one, which is more of an angry yelling face. We have a winking face. And we have this face, which is just kind of like a smile, kind of a sly smirk, which also, by the way, you can quote me on that. They all have really nice paintwork. Very well done. I like the way they did the faces a lot. Alright, now we also have a few other accessories. We have her staff, which is called the Climatact. Very nicely done, although it's very plain, so I'm not sure if that's how it is after the time skip. There's no detail on it at all. I know post or pre-time skip it has like those balls where the different pieces connect. This one is just a solid blue staff, so hopefully that's accurate. With that, we have a lightning effect. So this one is gonna like kind of wrap around, and then this one is going to peg right onto the staff. Nice translucent plastic with a little bit of shading on there. And then we also have the cloud or wind effect, which is a little bit off-white for my liking. I wish it was a little more of a pure white with maybe a hint of blue rather than a hint of yellow, but it's still nicely sculpted and it is in translucent plastic, and that will peg around the staff, and this one will peg right into the staff. Does have some subtle shading on there too. So nice accessories. Let's go over the articulation. So the head of the figure is articulated similarly to Sabo. And how that is, and I'll show you it by taking off the hair to show you how to change the faces. You just pull the hair off, and then you can pull the face off, and now you can see all of the guts inside of her head. So this is not a thing I like very much on this figure. It's a ball hinge at the bottom of this large piece of plastic, which seems very fragile to me, but also the ball hinge is fairly loose. It doesn't really want to support itself, so that's a bummer. You can rotate it around and kind of get like a sideways hinge, but because it's so loose, it feels like it might break, and I don't really want to do that too much. Inside the hair itself, we do have another ball hinge back there, which allows this piece of hair to hinge, but you don't really get that much range out of it, so I'm not sure if that's really that useful. It's not bad, but it's not useful, so it's not good. The neck itself does have a ball peg on it. It doesn't really want to move too much though, so don't expect to get too much range of motion out of that neck joint in there. It doesn't have the most range of motion at all. The shoulders are pretty cool. They're the same on both sides, but I'm going to use this side since the hair is not in the way. The hair is a soft plastic, so it won't be a problem for posing, but for the sake of the review, it'll be better to show you on this side. So we have our standard ball hinge where the arm connects to the shoulder itself. So we can use the hinge there, and of course we have our bicep swivel, and it'll rotate around. So that's all fine. But the cool thing about this joint is it also has a butterfly joint built in. So you have that, which is hidden pretty well by her bikini thing, strap, whatever that's called. I guess it's a strap. And then it also has a vertical butterfly joint. So in addition to the actual hinge, the whole shoulder piece moves up and down, which is really cool. It does look a little odd because the size of the ball hinge itself seems like it's a little bit small. I think they could have made that a little more flush, but it does work really well, so it's not too bad. Same type of deal with the elbows. The joint itself isn't the best looking, but it has really nice range of motion. You can get it all the way around, so that's pretty good in my book. I like that. I don't know why they shaded at the elbow, though. There's a little bit of shading on the forearm and the bicep at the elbow joint, so that looks a little odd. And then lastly, for the arms, we have another ball hinge for the wrist, which is fine when you have her hand going like this. I believe that's supinated. I think the word is supinated. But if you do it like this, you see you get a little bit of a fat wrist thing going on. So that's not the best situation. It definitely could be better. For her torso, we have what I believe is a double ball peg. It might only be a single though, because I haven't pulled it apart to check. But you do get a diaphragm joint in here, which has pretty good range of motion. You can lean her pretty far forward, pretty far back. Side to side is acceptable. It's not great, but it's definitely good enough. And then you can rotate it around. So it's a very nice joint. It's hidden well by the sculpt of her clothes, if you want to call them clothes. So that's fine. When you lean her all the way forward, you can kind of see inside a little bit, but that's all the way at the maximum limit of the articulation, so it's not a huge deal. For her lower torso, her whole crotch area is just a three-way ball peg, very similar to a Figma. So there's a ball peg that goes into her lower torso and a ball peg that goes into each hip. Unfortunately, the lower torso goes so far down that you really can't use that ball peg for anything. It's basically not even it doesn't have any range of motion really, so that's kind of disappointing. This is a floating crotch piece, but because there's no range of motion for the lower torso, it doesn't really do any good. It can't go anywhere. So the hips have a standard ball peg socket in there, which the thigh can swivel around, so you get your thigh swivel. And then for the socket, it feels pretty limited. You can kind of finagle it and get the legs to go pretty far forward. Not as far as I would have liked, but it's not too bad. It's decent enough once you try to get her posed. And then out to the side, you have to kind of, again, play with it. But you can get the legs out pretty far to the side. You have to be careful, though, because if you go too far on one, you can't rotate the torso enough to get the other one out. So you're going to have to kind of balance it depending on how you want to pose the figure. But as you can see, you shouldn't really have too much trouble. So I thought it was going to be a lot more limited than it is, and I think it works pretty well. I mean, considering she has no place to hide the range of motion, I think they did a pretty good job with that. For the knees, really nice range of motion, and they're not too bad looking. I do wish they hid them a little bit better, but for the most part, they're not so bad. I think they're all right. They're very similar to a Figma style knee, so if you're used to that, you will be used to this. Ankles have a standard ball hinge again. Pretty good range of motion here, and then you can rotate them around for an ankle rocker. So that's all perfect, no problems there. And then you have a toe hinge, which is hidden very well, so that's a good thing. I like the way they did that. Here's the problem, and the biggest problem I have with this figure that does knock it down quite a few points, even though the rest of the figure is for the most part really well done. The heels on her feet are not long enough to have her stand on the rest of her feet. You have to stand her, where's my ruler? You have to stand her at an angle because the heels don't go flush with the bottom of the foot. So you can kind of push this down a little bit and make it work. And you'll see in the photos I'll be able to get her to stand, but it's really a pain in the butt. And considering the fact that her ankles are also a little bit loose, you're going to really have to take some time to pose her if you're going to do a freestanding pose. If you're going to use a display stand, then I wouldn't worry about it too much, but it's something to be aware of. So that's it. I do recommend it. It's a really good figure. It just has a few caveats here and there that make me a little worried about the viability of posing her, but we'll see how it goes. I think it's not going to be too bad. It does look really good in general. and I think there are plenty of reasons why you should get her, so I do recommend it. She will be in stock at Big Bad Toy Store very soon, so click the link in the description below. And make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. In the meantime, keep collecting.